2025 is nearly over, and it's been a hell of a year for, well, so much Japanese music. So, what we're going to do today is we're just going to have a sit down, have a long chat about everything that we thought was special in 2025, our feelings about the year as a general, like favorite releases, all that kind of stuff. Um, Now, I know that both me and Neon have like our sort of year-end award things coming up. So as a result, we won't be saying categorically this is the best because you have to wait for our awards. But we're going to be talking about our highlights and everything, just chatting about the things that really had made an impression, were better than we expected, maybe came in less than we expected, the year as a total. So, guys, there are so many places to go with this. Where do you think we should start? What's the most pressing thing that we should get straight into straight away?
I
Vans and baby metal.
Yes, I wanted to say that. Most important announcement of the year.
Don't worry about the album, they got shoes.
I kind of want some. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
still,
I kind
why
of.
Vans? So
Why not? I mean, why? But yeah, why any shoe? Why golf?
my golf.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
golf?
Not to be funny, the shoes make way more sense than the golf set. I mean, come on.
Kind
I do
of.
like what the golf set said about their fans. It's like our fans feel like kind of middle class golf players. So you're there in like a grungy venue, like
Every 60-year-old man and like just like know they're getting targeted for that one.
it's like all the older guys on the golf course with their long hair sort of tied back. So I'm playing golf today, and then they let it
Playing
down.
golf.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was the Venn diagram crossover. But seriously, like, so let's start with Metal Fourth because the fifth Baby Metal album, because that is an interesting place to kick off on this one. Um, that was an album that I think a lot of us were seeing as one of the most significant releases of 2025. It was like a release that I think a lot of us were really thinking, okay, well, obviously Baby Metal, anytime they release anything is huge, but it was their first album back as a three-piece.
yeah.
So yeah, what did you guys think about that? Was that a highlight for either of you, or how did that come in against expectations? And
For me, it actually was a big highlight, and I still really love it. And I would still call it an album, even though after seeing your little video you made about it, which, I don't want to
I
get
still
into
call it an
too
album.
much. Okay,
I call it an
okay.
album as well. I just
But
think
like
that it,
I know you called it like a nice collection of songs.
yeah, I mean that was the thing for me is that Metal Fourth. I think more the point I was making on that video is that if you're gonna if they're gonna do what Koba supposedly did and say that the other one is no longer an album, it's like how can you do that but then say
Yeah,
that
I
canonically Metal
agree.
Fourth
Those are
counts?
kind of mixed up.
It was more me making a point about the other one than actually Metal Fourth.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Metal Fourth was. The more I think about it, it was an album that it took Babe Metal to places we hadn't heard them go before because of the collaborations. It felt like they were appearing sometimes with stuff like Ratatata, which was like that feels more like an Electric Callboy song, and yet they appeared on it and made it very much their own. So there was a lot of those moments where I felt like Babe Metal were going to places they'd never been before, but it did feel like a collection of little forays into other people's territory and some songs which were very much theirs as well, but it felt more like they were playing around with different ideas than necessarily producing a cohesive album. um and I think as well the fact that the song was collecting, as I'm sure Neon will get onto as well, collecting a lot of songs that were quite disparately released. I checked and it was like Metal came out pretty much 2 years before Metal Fourth and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think came out during the release cycle for the other one pretty much. And you're sort of looking at these and thinking, okay, it does feel more like a collection of songs than necessarily the most purposefully
I mean,
created
yeah,
album.
that
But
does
still, it was a great
play
album.
play into it. But for me as a big baby metal fan, I still have to say it's a great album. I love every song
Yeah.
on this. I love listening to the whole thing. I listened to it a lot of times already. And I totally agree. I would love to hear, obviously, even more a 10 track pure baby metal album. But to be honest, I think I got even more excited for that through Metal Fourth. So I'm
Would you?
not, I don't, I have no critique.
Are you gonna? Well, I think you ain't gonna have a critique because you know that Moa appears on that album, and so yeah. Hashtag no bias. But no, I agree actually. I mean, I think that's my point. Is I think as a collection of songs, it's great. and it does actually flow quite well. I will say, considering how what it actually is, I'm impressed how well it flows. I just still kind of like listen to it, and I feel it's more like um, a compilation in a weird way. It feels more like a compilation. But I don't know. That could just be the psychological bias of knowing that the songs are collaborations with so many different people. Well, how did you feel about this, Neon? Though, like, was this basically? I guess the real question was: this for you a highlight of the year, or was this something where you thought, okay, fair enough?
Um, I think for me, I'd probably put it in the category of highlight of a year.
Okay.
I come into this one sort of like halfway, probably between both of you. I'm probably somewhere in the middle ground. Here,
Hmm.
I agree with Howard that like when I see the track list and I see like the amount of collaborations it is, I do come into this one feeling, oh, I wish there was just more pure baby metal songs, to be honest. And but also at the same time with Benedikt, I every time I listen to this album, I feel like it flows really well, and I quite like the collaborations. Like song three for me was one of my favorites of this year. I know a bit of a controversial opinion because I know Ratatata and From Me to You is perceived to be more people's favorites than that
I
one.
love how we can agree on the album and yet totally disagree on which is the best and worst song on it.
Yeah, yeah. I think for me, again, where I'm coming at that middle ground is um was just coming into this album, and I had this has been the year for me, or probably even maybe even 2 years, because 2024 was kind of like leaking into that a little bit as well, where I hear a lot of like songs before I get the album. It's becoming an infuriating trend, a little bit too much, I think, in 2025. So when I came into with the Bay Metal one, my initial thought was, I've already heard Ratatata, like I've already heard Metali, and it does take away that sheen a little bit.
We
Um,
already heard five of the songs, I think, like
yeah,
half of the
like
album.
I was like, I wanted something new, but at the same time, once it's in your hand, and you listen to it, it's like the quickest 40 minutes of my life. Like it's
Yeah.
just like I can listen to that album and it goes like that, and I'm happy at the end of the day, regardless of that, of my preconceptions kind of going into it. But
Hmm.
I think you're both right. I honestly like, and I'm not just saying that to be the middleman here and trying to appease everybody. I see it from both angles. Like I share both sentiments. To be honest, I agree with you, both of you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Um, I think I guess that's the thing is that as I'd sort of said before, a lot of us went in with there was a lot of expectation going into that album, and I think for a lot of people, whereas usually you just listen to an album and you go, oh, is it good or is it bad? It's like that one there was like so much with, like songs coming out so early and with like all the weird news around it that I think like it really wasn't until I'd had time to sort of let the album rest, as is often the case for most albums anyway, but especially for that one, it took me like several months after it had come out that I could just sit back and listen to it and go, right, what do I think about it now? I got to be honest that like when it first came out, I almost felt like there was so much controversy that maybe in a little bit of a contrarian way, I wanted to kind of be very like I was trying to be very defensive and positive about it in every single situation. So I was glad that when it came out, I actually really enjoyed a lot of tracks. I mean, there was tracks on there where I was like, oh, like the Poppy one. I remember when the Poppy one came out, I went to listen to some Poppy. I was like, oh God, I do not like this. And then From Me to You
I
came out. I was
do.
like, and then like From Me to You came out, I was like, this is fucking awesome. I was like, okay, all right, yeah, okay, this is gonna be good. And then
Yeah.
like
But
and
that's
then like
also why I cannot really be like, why I cannot really critique all the collaborations. I think all the collaborations still have, enough baby metal influence to like
mhm.
justify it being a song on a baby metal album.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I
Yeah.
think that's fair.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's fair. I mean,
Okay.
it was just like I said, it was a solid album. All in all, to be honest, I would have liked another song or two from on that album, if I'm going to be honest.
Just
But apart,
release less songs beforehand and we'll all be happy.
yeah, exactly. So, but no, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It met my expectations and exceeded it. So,
No, but I really feel you, Howard, when you said like in the beginning, because for me as well, and Neon, you touched on it also. 5 songs were released beforehand, and when I first heard the album, it's like listening to half a new album. Like you cannot get excited as much as listening to a full new album or an album that you know maybe 1 or 2 tracks of. So that also for me, I wasn't as excited as I could have been during the release, but it's still good enough to totally win me over in the end.
Yeah, yeah. I think ultimately, I think that was an album where everyone's gonna have mixed opinions, but I think it would be hard to say that that album didn't come in better than I think a lot of us maybe were worried it was going to at first. It was certainly came in above expectations in a lot of ways, and I will say certainly. I'm happy to debate opinions on that album forever, but I think it's hard to not see that album as a bit of a win, considering,
Definitely,
you
yeah.
know,
Yeah.
considering all the things it could have all the things that could have happened with that. I think it basically delivered us some really great songs, really good variation, and most of all, it highlighted Baby Metal getting back to looking like Baby Metal, like just like the joy on their faces in so much of their media. They appeared in that movie as well, and they look like they're having fun again, and I love that. I love seeing the three of them with this sort of bright, happy dynamic.
The
And
social
you know,
media
all
posts as well. Like I've been noticing a little bit more of that, and it's nice seeing the girls have when I mean social media, I mean like TikToks and stuff like that, like official things, not like social media themselves, because we all know Koba will not allow that.
Yeah. But
Um,
still, it feels a bit more because I think also it's just like because they are adults now. It's not
I
like
think
they
yeah,
are
I think
14
Momo's
years.
made a massive difference as well. Where I feel like Sue is obviously like front and center, but I feel like Sue is very like she's dramatic. She puts on that flair when the cameras are on. Mo is very, I think, very reserved, and Momo gives Baby Metal now the other angle, another face on them, and I feel like they've really leaned to Momo being sort of like that internet sort of face with some of the shorts and some of
Well,
the
also
hype and
another
stuff like that.
musical aspect, harsh vocals.
Harsh vocals, yeah.
well, talking of harsh vocals, I mean, another album that came out this year was obviously Nemophila's Apple of My Eye, came out earlier this year.
Mm.
One of the
That
first
was
big
another
releases.
album.
Yeah.
One of the first ones,
Yeah,
and
that was another album that really had a lot of people interested because it was their first full album as a four piece. And
But I'm
I
interested on your opinions about this. Do you want to hear
okay,
my opinion first, or do you want to go?
go. Yeah, go on, go on, go on, go on.
Well,
What's your
I
opinion?
have to say, initially listening to Apple of My Eye, I really liked it, and I thought it's like a straight banger. And I still do think that, but I didn't come back to it that often because to me, it didn't have as many interesting areas it went to, like, for example, their album before, Evolve. Or was it that before, or Seize the
Yes.
Fate before? At least I think both of these albums, to me personally, are more interesting overall.
Um, it's
Just
difficult that one.
adventures into more different territories, and I feel like Apple of My Eye is just more focused on that straight banger feeling, and it
I
does deliver that very well.
I don't disagree with you actually, because I mean I think the thing that I tried to with a caveat, I think the thing that I tried to sort of discuss with Apple of My Eye when it came out is this like on like if you look at Revive, I feel like as an album, each song is way more varied than the songs on Apple of My Eye were. However,
Do you
I
mean
feel like
Evolve?
oh sorry, Evolve, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry. Yeah, sorry. On Evolve, yeah.
it's not
Each
even
of
right.
the yeah, sorry. One word names, not the best way to title things. I feel like each song is more varied than the songs are on Apple of My, but within the songs on Apple of My, like each song itself in isolation feels like it takes you on more of a journey. Like
Mhm.
again, I keep on coming back to like the example I love to use is Progress, which I feel like does so many things in one song. I feel like it's just a very different style of writing. Um, I think one of the reasons why I didn't come back to it so much was just because there were so many releases later this year. But in the first half
Yeah,
of the year, when
true.
we had a bit of a quiet period in the sort of spring into the summer. There wasn't a huge amount coming out. I think I was actually listening to it quite a bit. It's just that, after a while, like so much other stuff came out. So I haven't really listened to it in the last few months more than in passing. So that's an interesting point. I hadn't really thought about that, but I've got to be honest, I still feel like if I'm just thinking about this year, I do think about it in a very positive light. I do think
Yeah,
that was an album that left a really positive
I do
impression on me.
too. But if I think about
Yeah.
like Nemophila discography, I would probably rather listen to Evolve to than
Yeah.
Apple of My Eye.
It's almost so hard though, because you would listen to them in such totally different situations.
Yeah, it's true. It's
It's
hard.
it's kind of hard to compare them. They really do feel like a different band, although you can feel the DNA of Nemophila throughout. It does feel like a different band in a lot of
Do you
ways.
think that is also due to one of their guitarists leaving?
I've got to assume that like them sort of like losing 20% of the band is I say losing, but sort of like evolving away from they've gone their way. She's gone her way. I feel like
Next
they've
album, Evolving Away.
well, I want to say it in a polite way because I mean it does appear that like Saki and Nemophila both seem to be happier with what they're doing now than they were before. As much as that was great, they do seem to be very happy in their own worlds now. Um, but yeah, Nemophila definitely. I mean, also they released a couple of singles after Apple and I later this year, which do feel very much like they are following a similar
Mm.
kind of direction to what Apple and I did. So I would have to assume that the sound they've currently got is one that they've, or at least the style of writing they've got is one that they've settled into as this four piece. As a four piece communicating songs between each other, this is how songs end up sounding. So yeah, I have to assume that's partly
Mm.
a result of their new lineup, but. It's different, but I still feel it works. And again, if we're talking about expectations, I think there was a part of me that was worried that they were just going to go, oh, let's just be heavy for the sake of heavy and be rebellious. And it was just going to be like a scream intensive album without any nuance. And it definitely wasn't that. Again, it
Yeah.
was another album where maybe I was setting my expectations low, but I came out of it feeling much more positive than I was worried I was going to. A lot like with Metal Fourth, it was an album where there was a lot of directions it could have gone in. It could have gone very south, but ended up being quite positive.
Yeah. I mean, Neon,
Neon!
what are your thoughts? Because I remember, I think when we talked about this album initially, you really liked this.
Yeah, like my opinion on this one is still the same. It's one of my favorite albums of the year. I really like this one. Actually, I think I would admit brings up a good point for this one, which is I probably went into this album crazily with low expectations because of the whole Saki thing, because they lost a guitarist. I was really nervous of how this album was going to play out. I think they really did a good job of redoing some of their earlier songs, but as a four piece before the album came out, and I was listening to some of them. And I was like, oh, actually, as a four piece, this doesn't sound too bad. It sounds like still like pretty good. And then when the album came out, I quite enjoy it. There's definitely some bits I miss. Again, I come into this with a slight little bit of bias because I am a Saki fan. Uh, I miss her having that input much in the same way that I'm a Mio fan as well individually, and I miss as much as I love Fami for the I miss Mio's influence in there as well. And I think that's natural when you gravitate towards something, and then
Change is
when
always
you don't,
difficult.
yeah, change is always difficult, and when you don't get your fix, sometimes it can leave you feeling maybe a little bit resentful. But I never felt that for a second on this album. I was pleasantly surprised. Maybe, like I said, maybe that was because I came in with slightly lower expectations than normally for an
Mm.
Nemophila thing. And then once I listened to it and I listened to it a couple more times, I was kind of like, you know what, this really slaps actually. And I came away probably liking it a little way more than like I said, maybe if Psyche was in this my expectations would have been higher, and then maybe towards the end, maybe I wouldn't have been as sort of like blown away by it. But again, I came into this one sort of a bit lower than would be usual. Came away, yeah, really happy. So I haven't got a bad thing to say about it, to be honest.
Well,
I thought what they did was pretty good.
you did mention, of course, there. You did briefly mention about Miho, and of course, Miho had her moment with Zilke, which was
Silky, yeah.
another thing that
Yeah.
a lot of people were
I
looking
wanted
forward
to
to.
bring that up as a surprise, actually.
Yeah. So yeah, how did you guys feel about that? I mean, with that was definitely one of the ones where I've heard more mixed opinions on that probably than most of the other releases this year. Like really, people were yeah, I
Yeah,
think people had again
yeah,
expectations
yeah,
very strongly for that.
that is, I
I've already
think,
heard a song or two, so I don't not completely versed in it yet. I've been meaning to get round to them. I haven't quite got round to it. But from what I've heard from the song or two that I listened to, I quite like it. It's not the direction I thought. they would go
I
in.
think that's
I think
the
that's
issue for a lot of people
yeah.
Well, I know you
because
heard the
of
first two songs, didn't you?
So yeah, I heard the first two songs. My issue was that it sounded very kind of like Western sounding,
yeah.
not
Yeah.
so much where I thought they would go. But I think again,
That
I
is
think
exactly
that's
what I hear from everyone.
yeah, but I think
Doesn't
that's
really.
also kind of like sort of like inherent bias though, because we've heard all these like amazing players in all these different bands like
Yeah.
LDS, like Love Bites and stuff like that, all come
Exactly.
together. So you know the potential is there, and then when it comes and out and it sounds just really Western, like with none of the flair that you kind of were grown accustomed to for all these people, it can feel underwhelming. I want to say a little bit, maybe like. But
But do
I
you
still
feel
really like it. They know that the direction is definitely intended. They've obviously done this
yeah.
intentionally.
Do you feel this
This is
is
what they
part of
love
the
to do.
fact that a lot of bands are really looking very much at the overseas audience now? And I think whereas a lot of the bands who've picked up the overseas audience have done it just by sort of marketing. I feel like some bands are actually trying to go for a Western sound, which I don't necessarily think is the best way to court the Western audience. The Western audience are looking for something different from what they already have. Otherwise,
Yeah.
they'd have it there.
Well,
So, what do you think?
well, I made the personal experience. I tried to get a lot of people to listen to Japanese music, and a lot of times, even though I'm trying to hold back, a lot of times the feedback I get is that it's like too fast-paced, too energetic, like just too
But
much. And I feel like Silky exactly does it the right way, that it's kind of has, the power of it, but it's not that
I
overwhelming.
think the context is important there, though. When you say you're trying to get, but do you mean just sort of generically people who like music? Because I think, as a general, most people in the West are not particularly interested in Japanese music, but the people who do find Japanese music are usually the ones who are probably a bit tired of what happened. I mean, we've all heard the story of people
Yeah,
going, "Oh,
sure.
I kind of thought that rock had lost its vibe. I thought rock had lost its way. I thought rock was dead. And then I found Japan." That seems to be the vibe of most people. Whereas if it's someone who's currently already enjoying the Western rock scene, then they
Yeah,
might,
sure.
yeah, they probably like Zilke more, but they're probably already happy. They're probably not clamoring for
I do
this.
agree, but those people might stumble upon Silky and think like, "Hey, that's not so bad."
I see your point. Yeah, no, I see your
Yeah.
point. Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's a great band. I think a lot of people had, as you say, expectations that maybe were based on the previous bands, but you can't do the same thing forever. You can't do the same thing forever. You've got to have a bit of change. Change is
Yeah.
good.
I get it. It also trying to convince like friends and people is like some of the hardest thing to do, like some people just aren't sort of ready for it or aren't, in any walk of life. It's like me trying to, in a gaming sort of like analogy here. It's like me trying to explain why Metal Gear Solid is like the best gaming franchise ever. But then when I talk to my friend, they're still quite happy to play Mario Kart.
Right,
They got no interest in Metal Gear. Like, yeah, that's very nice,
Yeah.
Neon, but
right.
it's just
Um,
people
um,
have different tastes, and sometimes when you try to show your friend something, we've all been there
But
when
it's not
your
like
mate has
I'm
showed you
showing
something.
metalheads some Japanese metal. It's not like
Yeah,
I'm
if your
choosing
mate
some
has tried
random
to show you
pop
something,
genre.
and you're just sat there like, "Ah, this is- yeah, yeah,
Neon,
yeah,
Neon, Neon. I want you to look directly at the camera, all right? And I'm
right.
going to say three words to you. Metal Gear Survive.
Oh, fuck off.
Mm.
Oh, you're banned. Oh,
You really want to talk about that game? I played
oh,
that game.
Jesus Christ! I'd
I
like
don't think
erase
it's
that from my
as bad
memory.
as people make it out to be.
Oh,
Shouldn't
no.
have been called Metal Gear, but still.
It's the only Metal Gear game I've never played. I couldn't bring myself to play it. I was like, no. I was just like, can't.
Oh man.
Let's not talk
Uh
about video games.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, he's got his new actually no, we can't talk about it because it's a Christmas present you've got coming. We'll talk about it after you get it, won't we? All right. So all right. So well actually talking about things like this, obviously Aldius was a big part of the Zilke thing and Aldius so it was this year, wasn't it? They had their final
yeah,
goodbye.
the final shows.
Yeah.
They are no more.
Hmm.
We had a lot of bands coming into existence, but obviously bands disappearing as well. So, sort of saying goodbye to Audius was an interesting thing. We also had obviously the changeover with Koi Ai bringing in their new singer and sort of putting Wakazaimon is seemingly getting closer to actually agreeing that she is in a band. So you can't chain Wakazaimon to anything. She's like, okay, I'll hang around a little bit. But she's Wakazaimon. You can't tame Wakazaimon. She's gonna do what Wakazaimon's got to do. So. Can't put a leash on that lady. So
Um, she's
any
gonna be the bassist version of Juna.
that you can do this video on your own. But
I had to
actually,
get you
I tell you
back
what,
for the Metal Gear Survive thing. I'm actually surprised you knew what that was. I'm kind of half like, sort of like, holy crap.
I just got a fancy PC with lights in the side of it like you do. I mean, I don't know what's going. But I tell you what, Saki's kind of like the guitarist version of Juno. So you've got like Saki is the
Yeah,
guitar,
yeah, that's true.
Juno's the drum Juno. So we talk, by the way, in case you don't know, we talk about musicians who have like rabid fans who love them more than the bands that they're actually in.
They're actually in.
Yeah, let's just be clear about what we're talking about here. You know, people who like they love the musician more than the actual band, which is something I find interesting.
Balloon, where are you?
Works with Saki now. She's got a solo career though, because she's just sort of led into it. It's like people like me. I'm going to be solo. Bam. But yeah. So I think Wakazaimon though, she's involved in a lot of projects. I mean, she's doing everything from playing with Koi to Hatsune Miku. So so this woman definitely does things. But what have there been any like changes, like membership changes and things that you guys have really enjoyed? Any changes to any bands? Obviously, East of Eden. Ironically, they couldn't get Alicia on Wakazaimon, but they did manage to get the former girlfriend bassist Mina came in. So there's been a lot of member changes as well.
I would
Yeah.
love to cover East of Eden, but they always block me, so I'm not really familiar with this group, unfortunately.
Oh, that's an interesting point. I'd
I
heard
want
something
to,
about
but
I
they
haven't
don't
had
let
this.
me.
I haven't had this, so I'm really intrigued by the fact that some people have this. Yeah.
Yeah, it's every time I do this group.
See,
Well,
I've
one
not had any problems with East of Eden, but
Unfortunate because
there
their
are
last
groups.
track I really liked.
I think it's a regional thing as well, because I
Maybe.
have problems with groups where like the rest of Europe seem to be able to post about them, and then like every time I do, I get fucking blocked. So I think it's just some bands regionally are different.
Yeah,
So, but I
maybe.
don't understand that. I don't understand why.
They came to
Um,
Germany.
nah.
I mean, obviously, one of the bands who didn't change this year again was Scandal, who just every year another barrier goes down. It's like Scandal just sort of like driving along, just mowing down the barriers. Like, yeah, I'll go keep on going forever. It's like still holding the record as the longest ever running female rock band to have no member changes.
Yeah.
Ever
We're
since
gonna
they
make them do this till they're 90.
well, they got that award when they were at their 17th year, and still they are going.
Hmm. I've been really
So
impressed.
that's
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Scandal. To be fair, they've done. It's another. It's not. Scandal's one of those weird bands for me where they're never like in the forefront of my mind where I'm like, oh, that's the most
mm,
outstanding thing ever. But they never seem to fade away either. Like every time you think the hype for Scandal's sort of like dissipated a bit, they'll come back again and they'll be in the conversation again, and then before you know it, another year's gone and Scandal's still here. So they're very good at that. They're like, they're very good at just sticking around. I like it.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of interesting though because they had a release earlier this year, but they only had like that one mini album earlier this year. It was very kind of small thing. I think a lot of people got quite hyped and they thought there was going to be more immediately afterwards. Well, a lot of people I talked to, I've heard mixed opinions subsequently, but people have wonderful 2020 hindsight. And it kind of feels like Scandal are trying to recapture a little bit of the sense of more carefree fun after a couple of albums that did feel quite emotionally intense. I liked the last two Scandal albums more than most people, but I feel like Scandal are trying to kind of well, they're not trying to, but they're kind of loosening into a little bit of a relaxed future. I think they want to just have a bit more fun now. So it's kind of interesting seeing how that's evolving. But actually, talking of bands in that kind of more sort of less heavy space. Obviously, Neon today this year, sorry, you saw Hitsujibungaku, who have been really blowing up in the West a lot. I'm really surprised how well they've been doing. I mean, I'm so
I
glad for them. It's just like so really surprised they've been doing
I
as well as they
must
have.
admit, I was generally surprised when I went to London to see how many people were actually there to see them. Like I was
Yeah.
genuinely shocked by that. Um, like I was expecting quite a small venue. I think it kind of was, but it was like I think it was like 2,500, and it was full. Like, don't get me, it wasn't like pack, but it was relatively, like, I'd say 95% full. They did a really good job with the amount of people that was there. And I think they really resonate with a lot of people. I got to say, for me, it was probably one of the gigs I enjoyed the most this year, just because it was like such a different experience. I'm not one, I wouldn't say I'm like a major fan of
Hmm.
like is it shoegaze they call it or something like that?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
Type of genre. Um, like I don't actively go listening to it, but I've been listening to a hell of a lot of Hitsu at the minute. And I went to the gig, and but it was 2 hours of just like pure chill. And I gotta say, I was like, I really enjoyed it. It was very, very good. Their album was very good. I think they've made some good waves. But yeah, I thought when I talk to a lot of people, like Hitsu doesn't come up quite a lot, but recently just everybody seems to be kind of sort of liking them. They seem to be doing all the right things. They're touring in the right places. And I want to say they're doing it the right way as well. Like heads down, very quiet, like just going about their business. And it just seems to be more word of mouth and stuff going around about that, just how positive this band is. Um, and yeah, I really enjoyed them. They sounded amazing live as well. The sound quality was amazing, which I would expect for a 45-minute wait until the band came out. But yeah, no, I was really pleasantly surprised. Probably my shock of the year, actually. I got to say, I was just like, as something I wouldn't usually gravitate towards. I was really impressed. Go on.
Shock of the year.
Shock of the year. Yeah, exactly. They really were. Um, it's hard to sort of like quantify into words a little bit, but it's like so I don't know. It's like somebody makes like a freaking honey toast or something like that, and you're like, oh, that's minging, but then you taste it and it's just nice for some strange reason. You're like, why the fuck do I like this? It's just
You know
like,
what? Every time you say that now, I'm going to be thinking, every time someone says Hitsujibungaku, I'm going to be thinking Honey Toast
honey,
Band.
honey, honey.
Because
Yeah.
just something about that sounds like the way you would describe Hitsujibungaku. It's like
Mm.
simple but refreshing with a little bit of tang.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, why do I like this so much? And I can't quite
A
explain
little
it,
bit of
but it's
honey on
just one of those
top.
bands that I just find myself listening to quite a lot this year.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, pleasantly surprised to see exactly how popular they were. I honestly wasn't expecting that. Um, when we consider all the bands that we cover and we talk about and the genre that I'm mostly in, being rock and metal, prominently, and with varying degrees of going into pop world. Hitsu's so left field, not talked about, I would say anywhere near as much. But yeah, it was refreshing to go somewhere new, you know?
Yeah, I think that's nice as well. It's like, and one of the things
Mhm.
that most of us get into Japanese music for is it takes you to places that you wouldn't normally get to go. You get like a something a bit different. So I think that's great. I mean, we have to though, however, talk about something that perhaps was not so much a little bit different as codifying what we all know and love, because I think a lot of people are probably waiting for us to get around to
Scoop.
this one. Yep, there we go. Scoop by Band-Maid. I know a lot of people are tuning in to talk about this, and knowing the way we
We
do the
we we had
thumbnails,
to
I'm
make
sure that
them
that's going
wait
to
for
be
the
one of
watch
the
time.
thumbnails.
There's actually a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah,
things I want to
exactly.
touch on, so go on.
Yeah. All right, so
Not
guys,
with
what did we
Scoop.
think? Well, we already talked a lot about our opinion. We talked obviously a lot about our opinions from Scoop by Bandmade, but I would say that it was one of those albums where, because as I pointed out at the time, it's definitely one that I enjoy so many songs from it, and it's given us so much great music this year. I wouldn't say it's necessarily one of my highlights of the year because, as mentioned, I think it's more feels like a companion piece, a minor evolution off the back of epic narratives, and I feel it's more like something to tie us over. But to be honest, I think the biggest thing that came out of, even as someone who's in Japan, I think the biggest thing that came out of Bandmade this year was the announcement of the European tour
Yeah.
for next year. Not just Europe, of course, but that's the one that a lot of people have been commenting on. So between Scoop and the European tour, I feel like they've definitely been keeping themselves in the headlines. Uh, excuse the irony.
Oh, well,
Very much.
always like, do these girls know how to take a rest day? Take a fucking holiday already, Jesus. They're workaholics. I really enjoyed Scoop. I thought it was a good one. I'm going to be 100% honest though. I could easily live in a parallel universe where Scoop doesn't exist. I could be quite happy with Epic Narratives being the last release and just
Yeah,
having
yeah,
this year off. Like I said, it's like an add-on DLC scoop.
yeah.
It's like it's there
That's
if you want
pretty
to
well put.
buy it.
Yeah.
It's one of those where I feel like I don't feel like 100% compelled that I need to go out and own it. But it's just nice to have at the same time. Um,
If the deluxe edition is on sale, then I'll get it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with both of your sentiments. For me, it's also it's a nice listen. I don't really dislike any songs. I actually quite like a few of the songs, but also there's nothing specific about it that makes me want to come back to it more than Epic Narratives or their last releases.
I
Yeah,
the only
I
thing
mean,
I
like I
would
said,
say
I
about
think it's
Scoop is I
nice
just
that.
feel like it came out too soon after Epic Narratives. Like that's probably my only thing. I reckon if it was like another 6, maybe 8 months and then Scoop came out, I'd probably look at it a little bit differently. I'm still feeling a little bit hungover, a little bit kind of from Epic Narratives. Like that was a massive album as well.
But
And I've listened to it extensively. Then to come into Scoop feels too soon to me. I don't know.
if you if you consider, I mean, so I basically would agree on the surface, but if you consider the chronology, actually it makes a little bit more sense. And the reason I say this is because, as you commented when Epic Narratives came out, a lot of the material we heard from Epic Narratives had
Mm.
been released a long time in advance. And then you've got to obviously factor in that after this mini album Scoop, next year they're going to seemingly be spending most of next year on tour, which means it might be a while before the next release. Um, Hello. So it might be a while before the next release, and when you factor those things in, then it actually kind of puts it in a space, probably, yeah, it probably puts it in a space where we're going to appreciate it in a year or year and a half when we haven't heard any new songs from Band-Maid because they've been on tour and such like. We'll probably be appreciating it a lot more as having sort of filled up our bellies before the hibernation.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No
That's all right. Did
worries.
you did you hear what we were saying? We know you were dealing with, actually being an adult, something that me and Benedict don't have to
Suddenly
deal with so
sounded
much.
like a kid.
It was. My little one was ill at school today, so I had to pick her up. So she's here during recording, so I apologize.
What was her favorite album?
Yeah. What does she think about Scoop?
Scoop of
But
ice
yeah,
cream, maybe.
I I don't know if you heard what I said there, but basically, yeah, a lot of Epic Narratives was recorded quite a way in advance, and obviously we know that quite a long time afterwards. Now next year we're going to have like the tour and everything, so I imagine that this is actually probably does make sense where it sits because it's going to be a while before we have the next release. I imagine, and Epic Narratives being recorded seemingly quite a lot in advance. It seems actually that despite the releases coming out quite close, this probably does make sense from a turnover perspective for them actually writing songs.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
yeah, no, that probably makes. I mean, like I said, if they're doing a world tour, I mean, how many months are we probably estimating this is going to be? 6, 7, 8, around about there.
I would have to assume it's probably going to take up a good 7 or 8 months of the year,
Mm.
yeah, or at least not every single day, but enough of their time that they're not going to really
Yeah.
be sitting
I
down.
mean, we still don't have the date, so it
Yeah.
could be much bigger than we're anticipating. But I'm not expecting the biggest world tour in the world. So
watch Neon be right on everything. It's like one tour in in Europe, one tour in North America, like one show. I mean,
one show, imagine. Jesus,
So
like,
yeah, I think it's definitely like really cool that they're so active though, and this is one of the things is that they've been around for a while now. I mean, we keep on
mm,
forgetting Bandmade are no longer the fresh-faced kids on the block. I mentioned this year I was looking at some pictures of when they started and them now, and they just look so much more. They just look so much better now because like when they started, you don't realize, but you look at them and they just really look like a bunch of kids. And you look at them now and they look like much more like a group of women. There's this confidence about them. It looks great. Um, and so it's really fun to think that they are now almost becoming like the elder statesmen of that. And well, talking of that, they've now got new bandmates in the form of, well, label mates in the form of Neki, the upcoming group, who are now also on Pony Canyon and had their debut signed record company release,
so
which
the
was
same
Me,
people
the
do
fucking
two
album.
groups.
Pony Canyon do have more than one band. Yes, I know. I
It's
feel
the
like they're
same
really
guys,
expanding into
just under a
band
different
territory.
name.
I would love it. Like it would be criminal if Neki don't open for like Band-Maid in like America or at some part of the Europe during their world
I
tour. Like I hope that
I
happens a bit.
stand by
It
the
would be
fact
nice, but I
that
don't really expect it, to
I
be
No, I
honest.
don't expect it either. But it's like if they have the means to do it, do it, do it.
I kind of stand by that feeling that I think that like meme really was the meme was the moment where, despite the fact that I love, and I think it was really wise of Neki to come up through this connection to Band-Maid, through like identifying the similar fan base and appealing to them, appealing to the fact that obviously they enjoyed Band-Maid themselves. Despite the fact that's all really good, I think meme was the opportunity for them to set about and say like, okay, now we are our band. It's like, yeah, we do have a sound that is not the same as Band-Maid. We are not just Band-Maid Junior. We are our separate thing. And it's weird because in a way, I know that if they go on tour, well, if they even do an opening thing for Band-Maid, it'd probably be very good for their profile. But what I really want is I want us to see a world where when you go to a Neki show, the majority of fans there are not Band-Maid fans, but they're Neki fans. I said
It
this when I
is
went to some of
crazy.
their when I went to some of the early Neki shows, I said, realistically, if you ask most people in this room who's their favorite band, they wouldn't say Neki, they'd say Band-Maid. And I said, that's okay at the beginning of your career, but you kind of got to get past that. And I think meme is them getting past that. So I get it, but in a way, I don't want them to open for Band-Maid. I want them maybe one time, maybe in Asia, maybe something like that. But like overseas, I want Neki to have their own fan base because
Yeah, I get
they're not
that.
the same band. And it's like me struggling between one would be commercially beneficial, but they're not Band-Maid Junior. They're their own thing, and I want them to be loved for that. Not everyone's second favorite band. They're not metal verse to Babymetal, you know?
I think
They're
it will stay pretty common that people who like Bandmate would also like Neki and the other way around because
Well, I've noticed a number
they
of
kind
people have been
of are in the same realm of music, even though they are not the same sound.
I think not close enough for it to be massively significant. But I mean, it is interesting, like the number of like we know when we do Neki videos, you guys have done Neki videos as well. If you did Neki videos around the time of their initial launch, when the Band-Maid hype was huge, when they had Exclamation, the unsigned EP that launched this all off, there was a huge views. But if you release a video about Neki now, you get much less views. And I think that's because the number of people who were just coming over from the Band-Maid fandom has significantly decreased. And it's now like it's more who once all of the hype's been washed away, who's left behind?
Yeah.
Those are the
It's
actual
it
Neki fans.
it's the
Um,
yeah, I agree. It's that downward spiral of the initial hype. Plus, I think again, I think that they've changed their sound slightly as well, which I think has put a lot of people off from
that's the
that.
one thing I know you said that before. That's one thing where I'm not sure I agree with that, but I know that's where we disagree. But I think
Yeah,
now
like
they can start building from a
yeah.
solid basis. They can start building just a pure
Hmm.
Neki fan.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Neki, which is heartbreaking for me to say, because I love Neki, and I listen to them an awful lot. But for me, Meme was that one release probably this year where I came into it, probably the complete opposite of what we were talking about before, where my expectations probably were more higher because of what Neki had done, and I came away from Meme just being really sort of underwhelmed with the release, which is really heartbreaking because I want to like it. I want to love it. Want to be able to breathe in every molecule, but there's just something about it. And I think that is that change of sound, that is that trying to go their own way, which I can appreciate. You
I
know,
think that really shows the importance of like your expectations for something, how
yeah, I think it
much that
does.
influences. Because I think we talked about it in the Neki video, but I had kind of the opposite experience that I didn't really expect anything from meme because exclamation was nice. The second one I kind of forgot about, and then
I think a lot of people
I
did.
was like, okay, let's see about meme, and I was actually quite surprised, and I really like that album now more than even exclamation. So that's kind of exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I like that. I like that. I like
I
that's
love that. Yeah, yeah. That
yeah.
was really definite.
All
it's
right,
just
calm down.
expectations make play a big role. in
I
how
think
much
that's
you
a big
enjoy
part.
it.
Is like a lot of stuff came out this year that there were big expectations for. I mean, the funny thing is that ironically, I'm taking the position that Neon usually takes here, in that I probably am in the middle on this one. In that when um, Meme was announced, you know, what we actually got was so pretty much exactly what I expected. That as someone who really likes Necky's sound, I was very pleased. There was no sort of moments where I went, wow, whoa, we've gone to a new place. But I also didn't get any feeling of, oh, we're not going. It just, to me, it felt like, yeah, you've kind of taken everything that you've done up to this point and you've solidified it into an album. We got an album of that now. Now, of course, as I said before, if the next album they release is kind of exactly the same thing again,
Yeah.
I'll be like, we need to progress a bit now.
Yeah.
But, and I don't mean get more twiddly. I just mean like sort of as every band, you explore new writing, you explore
Yeah.
new things as you go. But I think they've solidified their core sound. So for me, this was like just, I was really just very warmed by this. I listened to it. I was like, yeah, this is why I love Necky. This is that sound.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but
think probably
yeah, I
the
will
best
agree.
thing.
It didn't take them in any new direction,
Yeah,
certainly.
I think it was a very solid 7 out of 10, which in hindsight is not bad. It's not a bad EP at all. It's actually a very good EP. It's just not the 9 out of 10 things I was kind of expecting from them, which is maybe probably on me. And like Benedict said, it's coming in with high expectations
Yeah.
and maybe just not quite being able to reach what I thought or what I know they
I mean,
can
we
do.
can get into another album where it's kind of reversed
This
for
Go
us.
on,
is
go on,
another one where me and Benedict disagree on.
Yeah,
go on.
talking
Which one's
about
this?
Unlucky Morpheus, Gates of Heaven, Gate of
Came on the
Heaven.
exact same day, didn't it? Both were released on the exact same day, I seem to
I
remember.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
At least I had this one to make up for the necky one. So.
I did not. Yeah, that's for me similar to how Neon you described Neki. For me, it's like a solid 7 out of 10. But it's like for me the expectation was like Evolution. I always already was on the fence about it, but I was like, okay, Evolution. It's kind of they experiment with a bit of a softer style, and I was hoping the next one will be like, I don't know, back to form a little bit. And it kind of was Evolution again a little bit better, and that just didn't do it for me. But I already said before we did this video, there is Gates of Hell also announced, and I think
Oh,
just
really?
having, yeah, I think so. At least I got comments about it that Gates of Hell will also come, and I don't know when exactly. But it's actually meant to be kind of a two-parter. I think actually knowing both sides of it, I can appreciate Gates of Heaven a lot more. But just Gates of Heaven, it just didn't do it for me.
Well, just from the sound, the Gates of Hell definitely sounds like that's probably going to be where the heavier tracks are.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually, again, this is where me and you disagree. I actually think Gates of Heaven is like a really nice mix between the earlier stuff and Evolution as well, where it's in the middle. It's not
Yeah, like
quite
I
back
said,
to the where
seven
the
out of
heyday
10.
is, but it's not quite poppy. But I really enjoyed it. For me, song 4 on that album is an absolute banger, by the way. I have non-stop been playing that song on repeat over and over and over.
Which one?
And I really enjoyed the album. It's again, I think this is again, I've been saying this a lot in this video, but this is where I agree with Power. Jesus Christ, I've been saying that a lot recently. What's wrong with me?
I'm
Um,
starting to feel like something's wrong here. Like we might
yeah,
maybe.
fucking hell, like Jesus Christ. Where I feel like this is like the necky situation with him, but for me, it's with Lock and Muck because this is exactly what I expected their sound to be
Mm.
coming into this one. I knew it was not going to be as much as I would love the gothic undertones of what they thought. Like after obviously like Welcome to Valhalla and stuff like that, and the direction they were going with those type of songs, trying to be a bit more, I want to say mainstreamy. This is kind of where I expected it to sort of be on the spectrum of this is where I thought it was going to go. But I'm looking forward to seeing, like you said, Gates of Hell, and hopefully hearing some more of that unholy Orpheus mixed unlucky Morpheus that kind of fell in love with at the beginning. We need more songs like Black Pentagram and stuff like that on
Yeah.
here. So that's my hope. But yeah, again, I'm coming into this one completely biased. I know it, but I really love that album.
Yeah, there you go. I mean that's Yeah, I mean, as I said, I didn't really know what to expect. I've heard so much Unlucky Morpheus, but I never really sat down and listened to their albums before. But I was surprised how much I enjoyed it. And obviously, me and Neon, we got to see Unlucky Morpheus live this year. You saw them a couple of times. It was just kind of like, wow, it was like really quite surprising how just kind of effective I think it was as an album. But I do think that that's because the word that keeps on coming up in this video is expectations, and I think I was the one person who didn't really have any set expectations of what to think of from the album. I just kind of knew what Unlucky Morpheus sounded like, but I never really sort of tonally, thought, oh, this is what I expect from one of their albums. So like diving in like that, I personally really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Hmm.
But well, actually, talking about things that are a little bit on the heavy side, what we only got one song, I think, from dear old Hanabie this year, which was "Spicy Queen." That was their only song this year, wasn't it? Am I
Didn't they
right?
have another one?
What about the song with the raccoons where they did the advertisements?
Oh yeah, they had the raccoon song
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Holy shit!
Which I can never remember the name of. I tried to
Yeah.
Google that a million times to listen to it again, and I can never fucking
Karu
find it.
Garu every day.
That's it. Yeah, that one was cool. I
Yeah,
forgot about. I need to
that's
go
That
back
one.
and
that was a
listen to that.
nice
I
one.
forgot all about that. That was a really good song, and I forgot
That
all
was really
about
good.
it. Yeah.
That's all. I enjoyed the marketing campaign going up to that. It was like a little treat every time one of those little mid videos came out. I was like, yes. I personally, I think Hanabie has been strong. It's been a quiet year for them in terms of releases.
I think they
Uh,
also already announced a new album, right?
well, we expect a new album, yeah,
Okay.
relatively soon. And again, they just kind of like the Band-Maid. They've just been really been putting in like the hard work. The complete opposite, where Band-Maid's been doing studio stuff, Hanabie has been doing the hard work and on the
Yeah.
Yeah,
buses,
yeah.
grinding America,
Don't
Europe.
make the studio sound like it's not hard work. You still put in your work there. It's just a different type of work.
Yeah, that's true. And they've just been really putting in the hard graft and playing a shit ton of shows and doing lots. And I got the utmost respect for Hanabie because you gotta that's what you gotta do. You gotta do the hard yards. I think a little bit like that. And I think that it's nice to see a band from all the other bands have such a success story of just like good word of mouth going all
Yeah.
over different scenes and different fandoms that would usually like different things. And I've noticed like a lot of people really liking Hanabia that I wouldn't expect to like Hanabia.
Yeah,
And
same.
it seems to be the feel good story of the year where it's just they're just bringing in fans from freaking everywhere at the minute. And even I question it a little bit. Even I look at some people listening to Hanabia, I'm like, huh, okay.
Why do you like this?
That's a thing. I never would have put that, I would
Yeah,
never
yeah.
put you two together. Um, but yeah, Hanabia
I'm
just
assuming you're talking about me.
no, just general people. Like, I mean, you could put you in there as well if you want. Although I know you're a Hanabia fan, so um, so
Yeah, and I would put Hanabi on like on the extreme scale pretty high. So
the biggest wake up call
the
for me is I
most
went into a local Tesco with my
accessible.
Hanabia top on, and a guy in the till went, "Oh, Hanabia, I like Hanabia." I was like, "Fuck."
Oh,
So
like,
yeah,
bro, you what?
yeah, I was
Excuse
like,
me.
"What?"
So, which universe are we in now? Because
Yeah, I
this
was
one,
just kind of they just seem to be drawing fans from left, right, and center, and all different. Like it's not just metalheads as well. I see casual fans, older fans, younger fans. They seem to be sort of having that baby metal effect a little bit, where they're just pulling all ages and all kind of like casual listeners, heavy metal listeners. They've just been doing a really good job. Seeing their rise is beautiful to watch because it's all good things, it's all positive things. They're all going in a good direction. I think I'm really super excited for what they release next, like
Yeah.
their music and how they're gonna sort of match their expectations now and their tone and their sound and where they're gonna go. I personally hope, and this is going to sound really weird coming from me, but I personally hope they don't go too heavy, and we sort of keep that fun Hanabiya sort of like EDM aspect
yeah,
to them as well a
right.
little bit more. Because the one thing I am
What
scared about
makes
with
them so
Hanabiya
heavy
is
though?
because metalheads like them so much that they're going to lean into the metalheads a bit too much, and I hope
100%,
they
100%
don't
agree.
do that. I hope they they still keep their core sound a little bit and kind of stay themselves. But it,
I feel like
the,
the core sound
Matsuri
is
will
yeah,
always
quite
keep it
metal.
interesting. I think
yeah, but
Matsuri will always keep it interesting though.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and I feel like they will do that. I think Hanabie is just one of those feel good stories. It's yeah, that's the underdog sort of rising a little bit in the last 2 years. I'm
Their
really enjoying it.
their working ethic is amazing, and
Yeah,
I mean I say this about the touring, but also about just the way they write their songs, which is why I can't imagine them ever getting complacent. And they've got a couple of songs where I'm like, oh, that's not quite the usual level of like madness that I love from you, but it's still like as a general, like most of their songs are wild. The couple of songs they released this year were wild. The Raccoon one as well as Spicy Queen. And I feel like that's, as you say, that variation is one of the reasons why you play me like a band like we were talking like Slaughter to Prevail and Poppy and all this kind of stuff. I mean, they're Western bands, but you play me a lot of the heavy bands, and they never feel as heavy to me as Hanabie, simply because Hanabie's punches come like it's like you pull back and they punch, pull back and they punch. Where you got a lot of other bands who are just like
We
constantly just
really
noise,
need to
noise,
do
noise,
a
noise.
video where we clarify what we mean when we say heavy.
Well, yeah, no, we talked about the word heavy
Yeah,
being a bit of a nonsense thing before, but I guess impactful. They have an impact that I feel
yes.
most heavy bands actually lack. They're just noisy. Well, not most, but there's a lot of bands who people go, "Oh, this is super intense," and what they just mean is it's constant noise. Whereas Hanabiya, like the impact is there because they pull back and then they throw in those punches, and you really feel it when something heavy happens. Loud, intense. Choose your adjective. So yeah, it's funny for a band who's only had two songs out this year. Those two songs definitely. Well, one of them definitely left an impression. The other one, I forgot about it, but now you told me about it. I was like, I'm just really eager once we get off of this call to
I
go
like
yeah.
this
back
one. I like
To
that
go and
one
listen
more
to that.
than Spicy Queen even.
Yeah, I did like it more. I definitely liked
I
one
did as
more.
well.
But the
I
lack of a video, that's what happens with an
Yeah,
MV. You have an MV, it
yeah,
doesn't stick with you as much. I'm still
true.
thinking of a breathing fire.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's what helped Spicy Queen. I mean, Spicy Queen's still a really good song. That was amazing when it came out. But the music video definitely really helps that one. I think sticking
Yeah.
people's minds a little bit more. Which is going back to what we said about our argument earlier this year, where we were talking about how a music video can complement a song, like how it's so important to make that music video visually engaging. Because things like her
Yeah.
breathing fire, just that little thing sticks in people's minds
Yeah, yeah.
so much.
I
I
wanted to like make a bridge to some maybe
go
not
for
so famous artists or like not so mainstream artists. Yeah, we can also talk about Caramel Candid.
it.
But I
Just
was
gonna
actually
keep this
going
in.
on the extreme side with Broken by the Scream, Solar Strain, their album that they released this year, that not a lot of people are talking about, was an absolute outrage because this album is fantastic. I can spoil because I probably
15
won't do
minute
a
song.
video. Yeah, it has one
15
15-minute
minute
song,
song.
which is the last song, but there's also a full album before that.
I'm
Yeah.
actually surprised how fast that 15 minutes goes as well. I mean, that's the biggest compliment I could say to that. If you're any artist and you can make like a 8-minute song go by in a flash, then that's you've done it right.
I am going to say, as someone who was impressed by that, but I must admit, I think we all know Broken Body Scream is a band I've always had to admit I've never gotten into. I will say the first time we heard that 15-minute song, I was like, okay. Then I tried to listen to it for a second time, and it felt like a year. It just felt like it felt like it went
Really?
on forever.
I
And I
actually
think,
listen to
yeah,
that
I felt
song
like
quite regularly.
the would your life must fly by. You listen to it at work, you've listened to it like three times. It's like, oh, it's time to go home.
Yeah.
But the thing is that like I will be honest, it's just the initial surprise of it worked for me, but when I came back to it, not so much. However, I will say as a general, from the things that Benedikt's played me a bit of it. I haven't really done it for my reaction channel because it's not a band I'm super into, so I don't think I've got particularly useful comments on a song by song basis. But I will admit it's certainly been more palatable and felt more like a together kind of band than they used to when I'd listened to their songs. And I think the description I used before is it sounded like someone had taken an old FM or AM radio and left it on the dial between two stations. It's like, whereas now it
That's
actually feels a
kind
little bit
of
more
how it
like
feels. Yeah. I can totally get anyone who says this too extreme for them or yeah, too much. But as if you can get down with it, I feel like it's absolute perfection. Like I feel like this is their best album.
I didn't feel it was so
I
much
agree with
the
that as
how
well.
it was. It's more. It felt like it didn't feel very purposeful before, whereas now the songs feel like more like it got a purpose. You actually can tell what they're going for with the songs, which is more how I feel about
I
it.
think the songwriting's improved.
Myself.
I've had
Yeah,
my ups and downs with
yeah,
Broken by the Screen. When they first kind of came onto the scene, I was like, oh, this is okay. And it was very much an idly thing, I think, kind of in that respect. And then this, I think the music, they went through this little phase for about a year where it was like once people had discovered them, it was about trying to have like shock value after that.
Mm.
Where songs were like a little bit like, discombobulated a little bit. It had no structure to them. They were just they were very reliant on that quick heavy breakdown screams, like high pitched screams, because
I mean, that's
not
still a lot of what they do.
still a lot of that, but it feels warranted now. It feels
Yeah.
work. There's a method to the madness now. It feels like a little bit, and it just feels like their songs kind of come together like way more better. And to use our favorite terminology on this channel, it just flows so much better.
Ooh.
is that our favorite terminology? I
Yeah, I
didn't
was
realize that we
wondering.
overused that.
Oh,
Maybe
we
that's my
say
bad.
all three of us say that way too
We we
much.
do. Oh shit, I'm clearly not listening.
But yeah, but their songs
I
do.
thought the favorite
Um,
terminology is, but for me.
but for me, yeah, really, really,
Yeah.
really, really, why golf?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this album I think is probably the best album of all their albums that I've listened to. Where I just feel like I listen to it, and I'm like, yeah, there's way more of a conscious effort in this, and I think they just needed a few years, I think, to kind of like sort of nail down what they wanted to do. It always felt like a work in project progress for like
I felt the
eight.
last EP was also pretty good, but like I
Yeah.
agree before that there were some hit and miss.
Yeah, so they definitely went through a phase of hit and miss, and I think that threw a lot of people off, but also they gained a lot of fans just because of the how erratic it was. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, to be honest. Granted, I haven't listened to by the Scream this album anywhere near as enough as I probably should have. I'm going to listen to it again
Yes.
actually. Um, probably once we finish recording this. Um, it's the Hanabie, of course. Um, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. Probably the best Broken Press Scream ever, I would say, actually, to be honest.
Yes.
So well, we talked about something that Neon really liked there. So I think it's good to sort of counter that. And especially considering earlier we spoke about one of my favorite albums of the year, Meme, which was not a big favorite of Neon's. He was kind of okay with it. So let's talk about something else that I love that he's also probably got lukewarm feelings about, which is of course the new TRiDENT album, Blue Dawn, which is their debut onto King Records. Let's talk about that, Neon. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your feelings about every single track on that album, every single
Oh
one,
no, no, it's
every track.
not the
Every
last
track,
one.
Neon, all of
Not
them.
the last one. Not the last one. Look, I like that is just not what that is. That one song that just pulls me out of like every place. It's like reality comes and slaps you in the face. I'm just like, no, I don't want
Country
to hit you.
road.
Leave me alone.
Radio.
Yeah. So, I, it's a really good album to be fair. I just hate that fucking last song. That last song gets me every single time. I can't. I'm sorry.
I am yeah I was just really glad to obviously see them feeling confident on their new record label and yeah when it came out I do kind of agree with what I think Benedikt said at the time that there is this feeling that it doesn't quite feel as much like a together release as a lot of their other mini albums. You know, it's got two covers on there. Obviously, one of them was commissioned for
Yeah.
a for an anime opening, and it does feel a little bit more like they cluttered together what they had on the go at the time and then put it into an opening release. However, with all that said, you know, it feels to me more like a just a welcome, like something to roll out as your hello to the new record label. I think I'll reserve judgment until we get the new a new album at some point. But I did feel that we got some seriously good songs. Like the opener is an
Oh
absolute
yeah.
banger.
Yeah, it's not
Nagisa
bad,
writing,
but I just feel
Nagisa
the
wrote
ones before were a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this album at its heights, you know, like Miracle is amazing.
Yeah, like the
New
first
Era.
song is the height.
Well, you know, the first song, well, the first song is the height, as you would expect on a mini album. Usually, the opener is like the
Mm,
one that you grab people. But I still think you look at the following songs, like New Era was written by Osaka, and I feel it really recaptures that old feeling we had from Advanced Generation. Miracle was obviously written by Nagisa, which is amazing. I think that's her first full song that she did entirely on her own, and it's brilliant. It's a really good song. And then, yeah, okay, we've got two covers after that, which are fun. But as a result, the three songs that they
Depending.
actually, well, yeah, I love them. I know that there's
I
going to mix.
love the Country
I
Road
love them.
cover, to be honest.
I love both of them actually.
Sacrilege.
I love them
I,
both
I
actually. I think,
actually, like I said,
Only
I
because
really, I
it's the
actually
only
do.
version of the song that I can listen to, that I
but
actually enjoy.
if you're honest though, if you were just to look at the three songs that the three originals,
The three originals, I think, are brilliant. I actually really
yeah,
do. I just
Yeah.
don't like the last
but
bit of the album, the
I,
John Denver
I
thing. I just think that's so out of place.
I do feel like if you had those three songs and you were to extrapolate a five-song original out of that, I would say it would be at least as good as any of the previous mini albums. Because all the mini albums before, they would always have one song that maybe wasn't quite as good as the others. I mean, I was never a big fan of Icon. I thought that song wasn't
Yeah.
so great, and
Mm.
you got little moments like that.
So why
So
put it on Ducks?
yeah, it went on, but
What?
Spoopy didn't. But still, it was still that was an absolutely amazing freaking album. Still an amazing album. Icon is not Trident's best song, which still makes it a pretty awesome song. But yeah,
Okay.
so I have to say that was one of my highlights of the year. Although I will agree it wasn't quite the rounded release that we're waiting for. I still feel like it's leaving me waiting for when the actual proper debut on their signed contract comes. But it was a nice welcome to the new label. But
Mm.
talking about epic things.
Ooh, I was gonna
It's
say,
like,
how did it feel to like have this album sort of now in your hand after like being a fan and touring and being sort of like part of the process? I say that tentatively, of course. Like, how
Okay,
is it
so
now to have it
I,
like sort of like
I'll come back in
be a
half an
reality?
hour then. Bye.
I will answer that question just after I suddenly realized that the copy I was holding up is only signed by three of the members. I'm gonna have to talk up to Sire because there we go. I'm gonna hold up that one where it's actually why did Sire not sign this one? I'm gonna have to speak to Sire. Dude. All
Doesn't
right, let's
like
put
you,
that back.
man.
So this is the
Face it.
side by all. Yeah. So to be honest, this is an album where I had been speaking to them for so long about the fact that it was like, yeah, when are we going to do an album? When are we going to have an album? When are we going to have like an album come out? When's it going to be? And when they sort of like got round to like they were building up to it, I was like, here it comes, here it comes. And, like they announced it. It was this feeling of kind of like joy because, again, we talk so much about expectations. I came into this as someone who has been following them since that first show, going to every show, watching them release one song at a time, changing from recording stuff like in a very haphazard way to recording at studios, all of the changes that have happened slowly over time. And so, in the way that we were talking about meme kind of codifying the Necky sound, although they'd had a much more financially backed start. It was kind of like this was that moment where all of those individual, here's a new music video, here's a new music video. This is when it was like, okay, we've actually debuted properly now. We have a physical CD that's like a full release, and it's just like, yeah, we're now officially there. And it's nice they got their Wikipedia page. They finally got a Wikipedia page was opened up and stuff like that. And it's just this feeling of, yeah, they've turned from this little project, a bunch of girls just saying, hey, let's try and do a band, to now they feel like they're actually there. And this is kind of one of the things is because we are talking about Trident obviously arriving on King Records and Necky arriving on Pony Canyon, but both of those bands had such significant releases prior to signing that you kind of almost don't think of them as unsigned bands. You look about the way like Exclamation came out and the music videos. Same thing for like Trident with Ducks. That was an unsigned album. Ducks was an unsigned album. Vast Generation was an unsigned album. And so
No
when you
one
look at
wanted to sign
this, it's
that.
like it's easy. Yeah. But I look at this and I think, okay, it's an unsigned album, but this is is on par with all of those other bands, and it's there, it's physical, it's real, it's a beautiful album, and obviously it's hard for me to speak about it objectively, but I mean, I got into the band for a reason, and I do think it is an absolutely incredible album with incredible bunch of songs. And thank you to Benedikt for like a lot of, even though our community of Caramel Candid followers is very small, people have been so hyped up about you reacting to every single song. And the bassist as well. The bassist heard what you said about her and she was like, Mabo was very, very pleased. She was like sharing your videos on Twitter and stuff, and I was like, there we
Mm.
go.
And I
So
was pleased by her playing.
yes, yes. I think now her desire to come to Germany has probably increased significantly. Tour
I
dates in
see.
Germany could be. But yeah, so for me, obviously I've got a personal involvement in that, but I've been around a lot of bands. There's a reason I've got a personal involvement in the band. I do think they're amazing, and I think it was a brilliant album. So I hope everyone else shares that opinion.
Video ends.
Yeah. And keep your ears to we said
Just
we
a
weren't going
hard
to say what
cut.
the best album of the year was. So
Uh, Metal 4.
I'm going to be honest with you. You put Metal Fourth against the Carol Cannon debut. I would honestly
No,
take the
you
Carol
know, in
Cannon
all
debut.
honesty, um, usually Caramel Candid wouldn't be a group that fits my taste so much. It's just a bit of too mellow for my personal taste as a metalhead. But they add so much like rawness in terms of vocal sound and also just, yeah, the songs overall that I don't know. It's really unique to me. I don't know a lot of things that sound that raw. To me, that's I don't know. I don't really even know what to compare it to because it's yeah. I don't know. It has a certain uniqueness about it that I don't know from any other group, which is totally what draws me to them. Um, Even though it's more of a rock style, which is more, yeah, I don't know, not
I
really my forte usually.
I fundamentally agree. I mean, again, like I tend to be biased towards anything that feels unique, and it's weird that they feel unique both in their rawness, but the songwriting as well. I mean, you
Yeah.
said that you like a lot of the bits where she gets much more kind of hyped up, and you get that sort of like
Yeah. Yeah, that
angry
kind of
vibe.
gives it like to me, even though the music really, it's more of a mellow rock, like I described, but that aspect gives it much more of a punk or hardcore vibe to it, which I
Yeah,
really love.
when they go chaotic and they go like aggressive, it really feels like it. Because as you say, it's not like metal aggressive, but you
Yeah.
genuinely feel like they mean it. Like when she's sounding angry, she
Yeah.
sounds angry.
It's
Um,
very like emotionally powerful, if that's
yes.
a word.
Yes. I think this is one of the reasons why they've picked up so many young female followers as well. They like you
Yeah, I
go to
can
live
imagine.
houses and they really appeal to a lot of yeah, a lot of girls rock bands appeals to men. They seem to appeal just as much, maybe even more to women, which I think is the great thing because I think a lot of women like listen to them and actually feel like, yeah, I fucking feel what you're saying.
Yeah.
Um, so it's really cool to see that. But yeah, I think the rawness is really nice. And I didn't realize this till recently, but I just kind of think about it. This is a band who, yeah, they all of the kind of like the old Rage Against the Machine thing, all sounds created by bass, vocals, guitar, drums. No other sounds are employed. They don't put any other
Yeah.
sounds in the music yet. It's totally raw. Um, and I think the only exception on the entire album is the beginning of Token in Pitsu, where it starts with like the sound of like the you can hear like a school playground and can
Yeah.
hear kids playing in the
Yeah.
background. I think that's probably the only exception. Um,
But
and
I
that
have to
makes
say, I also felt I listened to it today before we made this video again, and there is quite some development in the sound. I'm not sure if that's maybe you have some input. Like, did they record some of the songs earlier and then some of the songs later? So maybe the later ones
yeah.
are a bit more developed. I'm not really sure because
I
it
know
feels like in the earlier songs, a lot of times it's just auto singing her by herself, and in the later ones, we are oftentimes have a lot of harmonies and stuff. So I'm wondering, like, maybe they came up with that later.
this is
I don't
actually one
know.
of the things I really loved about your review is that you were like spot on with all of that. Like every single time you picked something up, it was like, no, that is exactly what happened. And like so
Okay.
you were pointing out how some of the songs have harmonies, and it's like, yeah, there was like the later sessions was when they actually considered recording harmonies because they're quite a young band. So I think at
Yeah.
first the idea of any of the other members singing, I mean, originally the other members, like when they came out as a band, they wouldn't allow their faces to be photographed because they were like
Mm.
young and they didn't really want to have their faces online. And so much of that has changed now. It's like now they're willing to all be in the music videos, they all show
Yeah.
their faces, and now they're having their voices on the music as well. And the backing vocals in a lot of the songs has added so much to them. So I agree with you. When you hear
But
the
I
ones
kind
with
of
the
like that some of them have it and some don't.
yes, adds a bit of variation
Yeah.
into it as well. But um But your favorite, I think, is still Virus Buster, which is like the third single overall. That is
Yes.
definitely from a pre-studio session. That's
And gotta
back
be
before they
totally
were using.
honest, I was hoping for the album to sound more like Virus Buster, which it doesn't, but it's not a disappointment still.
Yeah, I was glad that you found a lot in the other songs that were different in there as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was nice because I think a lot of what I was wondering you would, which the songs that I thought you'd like and the songs that I was thinking you maybe wouldn't like so much, pretty much that was exactly how you felt about them. So, and yeah, that was just really nice to
And
see.
just very obvious, easy to read.
No, I think it's just nice because again, like I come to it for like such a preconception that seeing someone else respond to it and like your responses are kind of what I felt you might feel. It's like,
Okay.
okay, that's good. It means that I'm still being relatively objective about this.
So let's
Um,
destroy that with the Neon's opinion on this.
Oh, I'm extremely biased towards Cameron Canada. I think Howard already knows
I
my
see.
my take, which is probably why he's so interested to get yours. Um, I I really like them. For me, it was a slow sort of burn. I'm always
hmm.
honest. Like when I first listened to them, I was kind of like, "This is good," but I had a few issues with Otter's voice at first. I thought she was just trying a little bit too hard.
Hmm.
I think the turning point for me was a couple of months later, and I always remember this one because it was the first time I was like, I listened to it and I was like, I actually really like this for what it is. Which was I can never remember the name. It's so difficult to say. Like Geschelt Regret.
Oh, Gestalt Regret. Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard that one.
Benedikt also really liked that one. That was the one with the girl dancing on the
Ah, yeah, yeah. The
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
song number
And I
7, I
heard that
think,
one
right?
Hmm.
like months before even that music video came out, like ages ago. And I was like, I really like this one. And that was the turning point for me where I was like, okay, I can kind of like see the potential. And then from that, it's like a bad rash. It's just spread. And before you
What a
A
metaphor!
bad rash?
yeah, bad rash. It's like it's
That doesn't
there,
sound
and you
positive.
scratch it a little bit, and you wake up the next morning, it's all down your arm, and you're like, what the
Hmm.
fuck?
Good rash, a good
A
rash.
good rash, a good rash. So, and that's kind of what camera kind of was for me.
A good
And
rash.
that's slow low, and then before you knew it, like when I
Put that
saw
on
them
your
in
next
Japan,
album. Like a good
um,
rash.
yeah, when I saw them in Japan, I was already a fan before we even went to see them, which was
All right, you saw them as well. True.
Hmm.
Yeah.
so yeah. And to be fair, seeing them live as well. Again, I was already committed. I like this band at this point. But seeing them live, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. By the way, absolutely amazing. I had a brilliant chat with the girls after Otter's performance was absolutely incredible. Um, she's way more controlled now than I think. Even some of those songs on the album are recorded so early that when I heard her live and kind of like sort of like use her voice a little bit more, she puts less I want to say less emphasis, less strain on it, and it just flows so much more naturally, which I really liked, and I think like that's come with a little bit of time.
Hmm. I
It,
think
it
her
it's
confidence has
subtle.
increased a lot.
It's
Yeah.
subtle. It's not like
Hmm.
exaggerated or anything like that. It's just a little subtle thing, but it makes such a difference, I think. And yeah, their core sound is just one of those songs where you listen to it and then like 3 days later you're walking down the street and you're humming something, you're like, what the fuck is that? And then you get in, you realize you're humming a Caramel Candid song, and you're just like, you're just like, where did that come from? They just have that effect on you, and it's just again, it was just an organic growth over time, and it went from yeah, they're all right, okay, I kind of see the potential to 6 months later being like, you know what, I really like this. I really like these, and I like, I personally like that as well because like I know it's always nice to go on the internet and find like a band when you like find Babymetal and you're like, oh my god, good, it's the amazing thing in the world. Yeah, 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 yeah. I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
being excited for those bands as well. But I again, touching on what we were talking about with Hanabie, I love these bands that like I love a good underdog story. I love bands that prove me wrong. I like that. I love to be correct be corrected like 6 months down the line and go, well, okay, actually, fair dues, props off. And that's what Caramel Candid was for me. They just chipped away at my heartstrings a little bit until eventually they were nestled in there. Um, so yeah, yeah, just really good. And seeing the girls and talking to them as well, again, cemented that love, I think, for them. So yeah, maybe a tad bit biased.
So I have two more things that I want to touch on really quick. I'm not sure how many do you have, just time-wise, so we don't
Yeah,
get
let's
too
go for it.
long.
Let's go for it. I was going to say that would be the
But
one that I
this
would
is an
wrap
end
up
of the year
after.
special, so I think we
Yeah,
go
yeah.
nuts with the time.
Okay.
I need to get more of the coffee. So you talk and you tell us what the next two things are.
So for one, I mentioned it to you before, Neon, the new Pale Neo album, Fortissimo.
Can
Not sure, have you
all
heard
right.
their
I
first
haven't
one?
heard it yet, no.
Can,
Did you
can,
know the group? Like,
Yeah,
have
yeah,
you heard the
I've
first?
listened to. I've been
but,
covering Pioneer now for a couple of years, I
but
think.
before we go any further,
Not sure
I
how
would
long they
actually point
exist even.
I will point something out. This is important. After years of covering this band, meeting them, talking to the managers and everything, I finally actually bothered to check how you're supposed to pronounce their name. It is, as I originally said it, Paraneo. Because I thought with
Well,
the
that's the
capital,
Japanese pronunciation.
yeah, I looked with the
Neo.
capitalization. I was like, oh, maybe it is Pale Neo, and people were saying Pale Neo. I was like, maybe it is, but it's no, it is Paraneo. So there you go.
Paraneo.
I'd let that know because I checked that like 2 days ago for the first time ever. I actually looked at the katakana. Oh, Paraneo. Okay, right. Okay. Anyway,
So,
Yeah, that's never gonna stick. That's
so
gonna be one of
Howard,
those names that
Pale
everybody's gonna be saying
Neo
that
with
wrong
their
for
new album.
oh, you two are fucking useless.
Peleno.
No, but
Um,
I just listened to this album and I immediately listened to it a couple of times because this really impressed me in, yeah, a number of ways. For one, I just didn't expect the variety. The first album was already quite varied, but just the styles they went to, what's the word? Especially want to mention the last four tracks because it's like the Book of the Dead series. It's like a four-track outro.
Go
And
sell it to
that,
me, Benedikt. Sell it to me.
yes, that reminded me or like gave me exactly the like Unlucky Morpheus and also like a bit of Ave Mujica vibes that I was missing from the Gates of Heaven album from actually Unlucky Morpheus. So I can wholeheartedly recommend this to you. You know, the first up to the last four tracks, it sounds quite different, but the last tracks even better. So high
I
recommendation for anyone who likes Lucky Morpheus and the Swords.
Yeah, it's
I
on my list of things to listen to, admittedly.
I will say that as I mean I probably gave this away with what I just said a moment ago. I definitely have a probably a little bit of a favorable bias towards Palantir. I really want them to do well because I feel like they're so different from bands like
Yeah.
Hanabie, but I do think that the one thing they share in common is this thing where every time they release a song, every song feels individual, like it has its own
Yes.
sound, its own purpose, it sounds
It's
deliberate,
exactly
it
how I
sounds
felt in the
creative.
beginning when someone
Yeah.
recommended Pale Neo to me and I listened to like one song. I was like, okay, it's kind of that alt idol style that you have a lot of groups like. But then you listen to more songs and like every song has like
Every
something
song's unique.
unique and different. And you're like,
And
okay, this
and
group is actually pretty awesome.
they're not scared to do songs that are actually kind of like not that heavy, and then they'll drop in
Yeah.
a song that's really heavy. They'll do
Hmm.
songs that have a little bit of a classical vibe. They use their piano skills in some of the songs. I just like I listen to them and it makes me want kind of like I say like Hanabie, although a totally different sound. It's one of those bands where I listen to them and as someone who always prioritize, I care more about songwriting than musicianship or any of that. Songwriting is the core thing. I listen to them and it's just like, oh, this makes me so fucking happy. I hear like
Yeah.
songwriting ideas oozing out, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what I want. So I haven't heard the whole album yet because I'm doing a track by track listen through it as
Mm.
well when I get a moment. But all of the singles, obviously, I heard in advance, and I've been following them since when they came out. And yeah, this is one of those bands where I'm so excited to hear the whole album, and I would just say anyone, if you
Yeah.
want something different in the heavy space, Palano, man, just
Yeah, but not
yeah,
just in the heavy space. I mean, songs like Crowd Surf Rider, it also
yeah.
goes to like the funky place.
Oh, that's so good. That song, that song
Yeah,
is
man.
so
That's
good.
like one of my top 10 songs this year, honestly.
Yeah, that's so true. Ah.
All right, guys,
Did-
I'll get round to it.
Did we
Jesus
sell it to
Christ.
you?
And what's one more? Well, you said there was one more thing you wanted to cover, Benedict.
Yeah, there's one other
Cream from
album, maybe Neon. I'm not sure how much you know you are also into Ave Mujica, but MyGo released their second album this year, which, in my opinion, is even better than the first. You know, there's some arguable arguments that the first one has some more memorable songs, which I would agree, but overall, I feel like the second one is just a solid. Every track is like kind of great. So it's kind of hard for me to sell this because you kind of need to like this type of music. How do you describe that even? You and are you familiar with MyGo?
So I am, yeah. So I'm not so much into my girl to be fair. Um, not so much not into them as in like don't like them. Just one of those ones that I just haven't paid so much attention to. It's taken a while for me because like to get into like sort of like franchise bands like that is like obviously the first one for me was like or was Raz. I think for most people it's
Yeah.
probably Rise of Sullen. Then kind of went on to the Brasilia for a little bit, then
I
Ave
really enjoyed.
Musica. So it's a slow process with me as I'm kind of like sort of warming up to each band because I know they're attached to obviously different ones, and my girl is obviously attached to different label as well and
Yeah.
for a different
And
show.
also like musically, it's kind of different.
Yeah, and but no, I really enjoy this kind of stuff. But I'm one of those people I like to wait. Um, because like the thing with Abbey Music, like again, when they first came and when I first started listening to them, they'd only had like two songs and it was like
Yeah.
unfinished songs when they released it. And I'm just kind of like, "Oh, come on, what's the point? Bring out some more full songs. And then eventually it takes them like a year and a half sometimes to kind of get going. Going back to what we said before, I kind of wish sometimes you just like instead of like announcing something 6 months or 8 months in advance. Like I really wish some of these bands would just release songs like and go, "We're here. Here's two or three songs straight off the bat." Because it does feel like, especially with the franchise bands, they release like half finished songs or like or they do what they most of those bands do, which really annoys me, is they release a music video which is like a minute and 20 seconds online, and then you have to wait another
Like
fucking
the
eight
short
months.
version.
Yeah, the short
Oh
version of the
no.
song, and you're
That's
just
the
like,
worst way.
why?
Yeah.
That's the
Release the
Bang Dream
bloody
thing,
whole
isn't it? Because
song.
that used to be the way back in like the you kind of before in the early days of YouTube, but certainly before YouTube, it was always this short video you'd get.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that like that's pretty much gone away for most of the Japanese market for a good 10 years now. But it's like Bang Dream is still doing that. And
Yeah,
it's
they're
like
still
it really
yeah,
weirds
it's
me out. It's
still
like, what
going
is it
on.
like 2006? It's like
Yeah.
what's going on here? Why are we doing short version music videos? What was
You know,
going
can
on?
only imagine maybe it's because that was the section that was in the anime, and then
Yeah,
the
I think
full
that's
song
it. I
will
think that's
release.
Probably,
it.
yeah, probably. They didn't want to
Yeah.
spend the extra money to animate the other minute and a half. I'm calling it now that that's what
Yeah,
it is.
maybe. No, but
All
actually,
right.
I can really recommend the album. Like a lot of beautiful harmonies. If you're into stuff like just into beautiful singing, then
Yeah.
I can recommend
Yeah.
this album.
I love
And
it. I
also
love it.
some interesting groovy songs as well. I think Howard would enjoy this also.
I, to be honest, I have like a mixed feeling about like Bang Dream stuff as a general, which I'm Hylin, because it's like when it comes to like Bang Dream, in theory, I like so much about what it is. It's this like this free thing where every group's got their own style. Like usually, almost every single group has a member who's like the, if you like, the X Factor member who's like a keyboard player or a violinist or something, which is a non-standard instrument. So I feel that helps give the group's identity. And a lot of them have superb musicianship, and they cover everything from like your pastel palettes all the way through to your like your Ave Musicas.
Yeah.
I will be honest that a lot of the time the songwriting is hit and miss for me. Like sometimes there'll be a song where I'll be like, oh, that's really good, and then there'll be a song where I'm just like, it's okay. So I tend to find that it's weird. It's like I like all the concepts, but then the actual songs will vary between really good and kind of mediocre a lot for me with Bang Dream. So I
But
and
that's
with the
how I
number
felt
of
with their
groups,
first album, and I felt the second
okay.
album from
This
MyGo
is
is a
my
lot
go we're
more
talking about, by the way.
consistent. But I also heard voices from other people that like the individuality of the first songs more.
We are, by the way, because I went for a piss. We're talking about my go here, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
my
yes,
God,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think I will because I seem to remember MyGo when I first heard them. I was like, yeah, it reminded me actually a lot of how Afterglow used to sound. They were kind of like more of the straight rock aspect, which is
Hmm.
weird because in a way you'd think that'd be one of the more boring parts considering how wild a lot of the other groups are. But
Yes.
like MyGo and Afterglow, they both had these songs that felt like actually surprisingly in the simplicity of the band lineup, they actually delivered some of the most effective songs I'd ever heard from Bang Dream. So yeah, in a way, actually, I feel like that's and especially if they've got like vocal harmonies, which always works for me. Then
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely would be tempted to give that a listen. So you
It's
kind of
always
sold me. You
it's
kind of
always
sold
dangerous
me.
to say this, but to me, like Ave Mujica and MyGo are a level up from the other Bang Dream groups, at
I
least from what
have
I've heard
really
so far.
struggled with Ave Musica. Like they got a couple of songs I like, but they've also got a couple of my easily least favorite songs from Bang Dream and a
I
couple of really
see.
strong ones. I can't remember. There was like one of their first singles. I was just like, this is really dull. And then they had another song where I was like, that's actually really good. So like for me, it's like the consistency with Ave Musica is all over the
Yeah.
place. So yeah, I again, it's one of those ones where maybe if I sat down and listened to an album, I could give a proper opinion rather than just half-assed thoughts.
I
So yeah, maybe I should do that.
I think probably the one thing you can say that each subsection has at least one banger each. You know, they at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
very minimum.
Yeah. Well, again, I need to listen to more to really be able to actually give a percentage value to any of that because at the moment I'm just kind of scatter listening to so much stuff. But yeah, I mean, Bang Dream gives us a lot of music. It's just the consistency is a bit wobbly, which is where, yeah. But I think MyGo is probably a good place to jump in. It feels like they're probably a good gateway drug into the
Yeah,
getting properly into it. But
Mm.
anyway, so guys, I think we covered most of the bands in question. So overall, considering how much we talked about, like, 2024 was a big year. It was like the year of the collaboration. It was like so many releases that people were really excited about. And that 2024 was definitely the year where we felt like all that post-COVID stuff was put to rest. And, the Japanese music scene was in full flight, taking advantage of the internet and all of this and really getting to the international fans. What did we feel about 2025? Did it feel like it was lived up to expectations? Did we get a lot of pleasant surprises? Did we feel like there was an overall tone to this year?
I think I'm actually quite positive surprised by this year because I didn't expect too much. I mean, obviously we have a new Babymetal album, which is always great. But also stuff like I didn't know Broken by the Scream would release a new album. I didn't really have like the Nikki and Caramel Candid albums on my screen, which were also positive surprises. Pale Neo album, didn't know that would
Oh
surprise
man,
me that much. So I would say overall, I'm kind of quite happy with this year.
that's great. Yeah. I think I remember like at the end of the spring, a lot of stuff that came out that I was interested in, but Neon was saying that not much that he was really looking for came out. So I think for Neon, it was a much slower start to the year than it perhaps was for me. And I'm wondering, do you feel like it picked up by the end and you got like a bit more satisfaction out the year?
definitely, definitely. Those earlier months for me, it was quiet for me for like the first like 3 months. I think we had like the initial Nemo release, and then after
Yeah.
that, it's kind of twiddling my thumbs a little bit for the first 2, 3 months because I was like, could really do with something now. And it did. The Bay Metal came out, it picked up. Like I said, we had Scoop, but I've had Neki, we've had Unlocking Morpheus. To the back portion or the mid to back portion of this year is definitely like filled in. And I've had a lot of more surprise hits as well, kind of like branching outside the bands, kind of listening to more kind of like I Know the End and Leeless and having stuff like their releases and stuff like that kind of coming in as well, like listening to more things like Yoasobi and kind of like branching out a little bit more. So it's been a really really good year. I already know that 2026 is going to be so fucking hype because Love Bites new album. So
Yeah, Love
yeah,
Bites,
we're already
Hanabi,
off to a good
probably.
start.
Let's what are we excited for 2026? So new Love Bites album, obviously, new Hanabi album,
Just a
obviously,
warning for anyone
Band-Maid
watching this.
tour.
We're now officially halfway through this video because now we're going to spend just as long talking about 2026. Um,
Should we
I
save
mean,
that for
obviously,
another
What
video? Should we
else?
talk about predictions for 2026, or should we just tack it onto this one?
I, I've I
Do
got a
you
bit
want to
of a
make a
rough
separate
year
video?
coming next year, so I'm trying not to think about it. As everyone knows, my visa expires on January the 5th, and due to changes, I'm going to be outside of the country with nowhere to go, literally just trying to wait for a new visa to be organized for me to come back in, which at the age of 40 is very difficult to do. But there's nowhere else in the world for me to be. So yeah, next year, I got to be honest, I might be doing a lot on my channels and this. We don't know how exactly we're going to do this, but I'm going to have to kind of like work out a way of doing it. I don't even know where I'm going to be staying. I mean, I'm planning to just stay in the airport for a while. Um, so I'm going to be sleeping on a bench for a while and working out how the world's going to look. So I don't have any big plans for 2026 because I don't know what 2026 is even going to be for me. But I tell you what, it will be a hell of a lot better if I wake up on that wooden bench to some good music. So airport Wi-Fi is just good enough to download some tracks, you know. So yeah, it's going to be nerve-wracking times, but yeah, I'm excited to hear new music. But I've got to be honest, I haven't really thought much about next year, if I'm honest with you, because I'm trying not to think about next
Yeah, understandable.
Well, I'm
year.
depressed now.
All right, everyone, let's go get drunk. Nice.
So
But
hopefully it works out for you, mate. Hopefully, I still fingers crossed, fingers
yeah,
crossed.
if you do want to follow my progress, then feel free to follow. Like all of our channels are always linked below, and you can follow mine as well if you want to follow what I'm doing or give me any support or anything. And pop over there and do that. There you go. Thought I'd throw that in because fuck it, I'm going to be on a bench.
Because
So,
he
right,
fucking needs it.
I'm going to take every opportunity I've got. I do
Yeah.
not know how well we can do like these Zoom calls when I'm using airport Wi-Fi. This might not be. You might be hearing a lot of me going,
Yeah,
and random people looking over my shoulder going.
we'll figure it out somehow.
We'll figure
Yeah.
it out. Yeah. So
Even if it's just audio, Howard, next year, who knows? But all you
exactly.
need to do is hear my voice talking constantly. That's what you need.
I see.
But we like to see your
Or I
beautiful
don't see.
face.
Where's that? I don't know. Where did I put that one? Anyway, look. Well, I think yeah. So 2025, I think it was a hell of a good year. A lot of good stuff happened. Very exciting stuff. But yeah, time to be excited about 2026 as well. The
Yeah.
Love Bites we know is coming. Anything else we know is coming? You said Unlucky Morpheus we know is coming.
Well, I'm not 100% certain, but I was told there's another album not too far off.
All right. Well, you said it was like Gates of Hell, right? They're Gates of
Yes,
Heaven and Gates of
exactly.
Hell. Okay.
Gates of Hell.
But there's been no official confirmation of that, perhaps?
I haven't checked, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
I'm doing
All
it
right.
now.
Well,
Hold on. Bear with me.
you gotta check it out.
I
You
was
gotta check it
told
out.
it's kind of was always supposed to be like a two-parter album of sorts.
All right.
It
So
kind
yeah.
of has
So
a name that sounds like it.
so Gate of Hell comes out and is going to be released it's apparently here late 2025. I think it's talking about Gate of Heaven here. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe next week, surprise drop.
apparently, according to this, Gate of Hell is going to be a concept. It is going to be a related single or concept that opens up a new world of bridging narrative.
Single.
So, well, apparently nobody knows what it is yet, but
Okay.
all we know is the name Gate of Hell. So, if anybody else wants to comment on that one and clear that one up, I am just Googling. So, as Trident will know, Google sometimes is not my best friend researching bands. Um,
Uh, double check and see if there's any information I got on this.
I mean, look,
Uh,
I'm in Reddit and stuff now, and people seem to be talking about it like it's a thing. So, yeah, it looks pretty much confirmed.
Um, apparently, there is no announcement of a follow-up titled Gates of Hell or similar based on current information and sources like the band's
That
official
sucks.
channel,
Sorry, I'll be
discography,
right
metal
back.
archives, Spotify, and recent announcements. So there's apparently, according to what I just checked here, which could be wrong, it states that there's no official announcement. Oh, did Benedikt die? Because I said there's not going to be any case of.
Hold on,
Did I?
I'm just checking a an official link.
We killed Benedikt. What have we
Uh,
done to Benedikt?
Benedict's got it. Probably one
Yes.
of the. I can't say that on there. I'm just gonna. Um. So yeah. So there could be something. Like I said, I'm not 100%. sure. I can't see anything complete concrete, but we'll
Oh,
find
he's back. He's back. He's back. Where
back.
did you go?
I had to take a call.
Oh, okay.
Work is stressing me.
So, all right then, guys. I just want to say a big thank you as well to all our subscribers as well for Ears to the East. So we know. Okay. Oh, you didn't have to do
We
that right
know.
now, though, did you?
We know.
Well, I am recording. Get out. Jesus Christ. So where was I? Yeah, kids. Bloody
We
hell.
know.
Yeah. Just want to say a big thank you as well to all our subscribers, all our people that listen for Ears to the East. We're not sure what's going to happen next year, but we'll find out obviously with Howard's situation. But we want to say a big thank you for being with us, for taking the time to listen, to watch, to shout at us when we're wrong, to to tell us to boost our egos when you think when you agree with us. It's been a hell of another year for Ears to the East, and I know I speak for all three of us when I say that we appreciate the people coming and spending time with us. We really enjoy doing this. It's all a passion of a thing that all three of us really enjoy, and yeah, we hope that by the end of 2026 we get to we'll be here again, thanking you again. So that's the plan. So, but thank you everybody. So there you go. I'll end it on a bit sloppy.
That was nice. Thanks, everyone. Hope you
So,
enjoyed
Yep.
take
everything
care.
we did.
Don't
Thank you
forget
for
to
All
drink
right.
joining our
beers.
little quizzes every
Remember,
week.
remember everyone, all together now. Remember to keep your ears
Cheers to
to the
the East.
east.
Ooh. Wow, a normal outro.